Let me begin with an official hello and say welcome to each and every one of you. Doug here with another edition of Stock Market Mutterings. This will be for the week that begins on the 11th of January. The first week of 2021 is now in the books. How'd you guys do? Talk to me down below in the comments section. Let me know what you're trading. Let me know how you done this week. We'll try to see what we can do here with Trade with Doug to get you to the next level as a trader. So somewhere on the screen will appear a link if you guys need help with any facet of your trading business or trading game. Day trading, swing trading, momentum trading, position trading, or investing. Feel free to click on that link and start trading with us right away. Now, we're going to go ahead and go through the market here first as always. And I think you got to ask yourself this question. What will it take to knock this thing down a few points and get let's just say a healthy correction, a normal correction? I mean, is this something that we can anticipate on even seeing anymore? I mean, we've had everything in about 1 year now. We have everything imaginable thrown at this market. We started out with the pandemic, which was a short-term correction that only turned out, I should say, to be a short-term correction with the market. It's been basically nothing but bullishness since then. You've had a change in administration in the United States. You've had the continuation of lockdowns and this pandemic. And last week, everybody went off kilter there a little bit, huh? We had some rioting, something that you probably never thought they would the citizens would storm the White House. It's just crazy, or storm Washington, I should say. And again, the market's just sort of like, no problem, right? It's just going to keep on going up and keep on clicking away. So it doesn't seem like right now any of that news whatsoever has hindered anything at this point. And when I'm looking at the SPY here, most specifically if you're looking at the futures, one of the things we were talking about the last few weeks through this cycle, and something that you're always going to hear me talk about, is how the market likes to hit these round numbers. And when it gets a sniff of the milestone or these certain milestones, stocks do the same thing too. So don't get me wrong, guys, stocks do the same thing too. Once they get a sniff of a milestone, they almost always hit it. That's why it's always a viable strategy to trade stocks that are like $92 to $95, because most of the time they go to 100. We talked about this a couple of months ago when the Dow was flirting around the 28 and 29,000, that the chances of it hitting 30,000 were really high, and it did. It's the same way with the NASDAQ. It gets around 12,000, it's going to hit 13,000, and so on. You can expect this type of behavior. Where I'm going with this now is it's obvious that, your next milestone in line here is S&P 4,000. I mean, we're sitting here at 3824 for the close of business. I know it's a tiny bit of a stretch for the S&P, but at this point, it seems like nothing is in its way. And in fact, it seems like nothing is in any stock's way at this point. Everything just seems to be clicking it off. I know we have just some absurd valuations if you're looking at that. That's not going to make any sense to people. These valuations, the PE ratios were really starting to stretch. And somewhat to a degree, it's reminding me of what I experienced in 99 and 2000. But these are different times. Back then, I'm not going to go into it here. Maybe I'll save that for a happy hour. But I wouldn't expect the outcome to be like that. I would not expect in any circumstance that the NASDAQ would lose 80% of its value like it did back then. Because now you have Fed's input, you have QE, you have algorithmic programs. But you could see some sort of a sell-off. So what am I saying? It is until it isn't. It does not appear that anything here in the immediate future, jobs reports, riots, changes of power, lockdowns, pandemics, nothing is stopping it. So until something can come by and really sink its claws into that, we can continue, or we can just expect that every dip is going to get bought. Every pullback is going to get bought. You had some late reaction, I think, over here. This might have been Joe Manchin from West Virginia, that's where I'm from originally, talking about not supporting another stimulus when Biden takes office. It didn't even last. It's just another opportunity to buy. So anyway, what am I saying? We're probably going to see this S&P 4,000 before we see anything. So let's bounce down to some individual stocks, because these have some better setups. There's some interesting things that we're looking at here. And I'm going to go by, and I'm first going to talk about, TTD. This thing is, Tesla always gets all the talk about, look how big this Tesla is. And granted, it should. But for some reason, social media is sort of muted when it comes down to TTD. I figured there'd be more people talking about this thing. This thing is a freaking animal. Guys, this thing was $130 in the coronavirus era last year. Almost straight, it just fell short here of 1,000 a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's just been on a total maniac tear. I mean, just look at the chart down here below. I don't need to tell you. Look at this thing. So what am I saying is very rarely has this thing even pulled back with any substance whatsoever. And over here the last week, last couple of weeks, you've got that. I mean, look, it rejects off 972, comes down in here very close into the gap up support from a few months back, and you're holding that 716, and you got a really, really strong day. So here's what I want to mention first with this. This is not for everyone. I mean, this is a stock here that has an enormously high beta. For example, $32 alone on Friday. I would not tell you in my right mind with clear conscience to buy this thing first thing on Monday. But I want to watch it. So for those out there that are a little more aggressive with their trading, they can tolerate a little bit more risk, I want you to watch this one. The only reason why is because if you get this thing to stabilize here where you can get that risk, maybe you've got to give up 15, maybe 20, even for let's say you're a swing trader, maybe 15 or 20, that's huge. But there's a good chance this thing trades all the way back to the 972 and maybe hits 1,000. So you're talking about giving up, $50, $100, not that much. You're talking about maybe giving up a certain amount there to get 1,000. That's a lot. It's like a $300 pop out of this potentially. But it's not going to be that kind of stock where it's just so clean in its movements. However, it's not too bad on the intraday for you day traders out there, how I will be looking for to accumulate some off of these dips. You've noticed intraday here, especially for the last couple of days, it's built some structure. So rather than chasing these, please do not chase this one. Please don't do that. It's going to create you a lot of pain. But I'm looking to accumulate it on dips for day trades down into areas like this where you've got double bottom supports, maybe even triple bottoms, and let this thing kind of go to work like an extended check mark pattern. You had the same setup there on Friday, just kind of pulling back down into support and then really doing the check mark, really extending itself. So I'm looking to accumulate this one on dips. For you people out there, it's a little easier to day trade this one than swing it. If you're going to swing this, give yourself some ample room, but I like this TTD. Now let's bounce down to something that's a little less intimidating. Let's say Etsy. Okay. This one, it still is kind of difficult to some degree to find value still in this market when everything is so expanded and extended. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been featuring things like NVIDIA and Facebook, and they just haven't really, they kind of been left behind for things like EV stocks, which we'll talk about NIO here in just a second. But some of these might be ready to go into a round two, especially if you think of this theory here where there's a good chance, unless there's a miracle with coronavirus, that when Biden takes office, I would have to think one of his first orders of business will be going into another lockdown, because the U.S. has not been in a lockdown in a lot of places. That's kind of been left up to the states. So there's something there that could be just a nationwide lockdown, something similar to last year. And that could reignite those stay-at-home themed business, the story stocks from there, like the XMs, like the DocUs, the Pelotons, bring us back to Etsy. Now, this has also been following a very rhythmic pattern of pullbacks here for several days into this type of a stock, has resulted in it bouncing and making another all-time high. So you've kind of got that. I think it's straightforward here. It looks like it wants to trade back up to 198. And like my theme here as well has been the market sifting out whole numbers. So if you take this one, you could look at possibly 200 getting done on this one. You could look at possibly 1,000 getting done on TTD. So watch this Etsy here. I think it's another buy the dip on any intraday kind of trading. Get yourself some Etsy. The other one here is I want to look at NIO. And I should say, now that I was just thinking about the market, I completely forgot to say that, we kind of started out the year there, didn't we? We're thinking that, okay, maybe the top was in. Remember that on Monday? I completely forgot about that while I was starting. We had that sell-off Monday. So add that to the market, just dusted that thing off. NIO here, this is a good one, but you guys know that. I did a video on YouTube a couple of months ago where I said this thing's going to be 50, and here you are at 60. I'm going to have to do another one that says why NIO's going to 100. But I wouldn't swing trade this here, guys. This is definitely extended. It's sketchy up here, but again, it's a buy the dip sort of thing. So watch this NIO here. And I think the last one I want to put back on is my good buddy Peloton. I like this Peloton. I've been talking about this one too. I did a video why this one's probably going to go to 100. Now I'm going to have to do one that goes, why is this one going to 200? I don't think this one is done, especially If you get another wave of lockdowns in the United States, this thing is only going to expand itself, and the chart looks great here. It's both a swing trade for me and a day trade. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up. As always, if you need help, you know where to find me. Just reach out to me anytime, even just with questions. I'll do what I can to help you achieve whatever level that you want to get to as a trader. Again, market is bullish until it is not. What a start already to this year with some great trades. I hope you guys are doing well. Until next week's stock market mutterings, let's see what the market gives us. Trade well, guys, and I'll talk to you then.